Alright, Greenleaf fans, now make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification icon, and click all. That way you're notified when I post new content, and follow me on social media. Links are in the description below. Now, this video is, believe it or not, kind of a positive one because now that a few days have passed since Tuesday night, and I know a lot of us are still mourning Bishop's passing. I know some people think he's not dead. Folks, he's dead. I think he's dead. Well, you could argue that at the end of the episode, technically he's not dead, but he'll probably die at the beginning of the next one, or it'll be confirmed. I don't know, but I think it's safe to say he's dead. The Zora and Sophia spinoff hasn't been met with any kind of positive feedback, even though it hasn't even been confirmed that the spinoff will be Zora and Sophia. It was alluded to when Zora was telling Sophia to come to Brooklyn with her. Think about it, it could be a TV show. Now that I've had time to sit on it, again, I'm not 100% aboard saying, yes, this is the spinoff we want. This is what we deserve. This is how the Greenleaf show can stay relevant. No. I'm just saying it has potential. And I remember way back when, didn't I do a video talking about should there even be a Greenleaf spinoff? And I'm like, if they did it, I mean, they would probably do the Grownish route where they'll take one of the younger characters from Blackish, or in this case Greenleaf, and then make a series focused on, you know, them growing up outside of the family. In a way, I could see potential with this because you would have the next Greenleaf generation. Because honestly, when you think about it, Grace and her siblings, they're kind of done. I mean, their storylines, well, it really depends on what happens in the finale. Like, remember, I'm recording this video before Tuesday's finale, so there's no telling what kind of twists and turns they can make. But with Jacob, divorces Carissa, allegedly might get back together with Tasha, and Alexa's daughter might be his. Maybe we'll find out. Maybe she'll appear at the funeral and we'll get confirmation. But in any case, where does Jacob have left to go? When you come to Charity, well, she still has her own different quirks, but overall, her stepping away from Phil, even though I think they'll probably still get back together, I feel like, you know, she's learned how to not fight her family, but fight for her family, because she was definitely a key part in getting the congregation behind Bishop in the finale and come to the church. And then you look at Grace, you know, it looks like in the preview, her and AJ are on good terms. I really think AJ's saying that he wants to be saved. And, you know, we'll figure out what her love life is going to be like. And that'll be it for her. And then May is all about, you know, making peace with the past to move forward in the future. So May is like, you know, really going to kind of take the torch and move forward. And that leaves the rest of the Greenleaf family, which is the younger generation. Now, I think it really resonated with me because of the fact that if the show did focus on, you know, like Sophia and Zora outside of Memphis, outside of Greenleaf turf, if you will, they'll be in the real world. They won't be protected by their wealthy family and everything like that. What I mean is, it reminded me of going to Liberty. Yeah, I know Liberty's in the news right now because Jerry stepped down and yada, yada, yada. Trust and believe, I had so many talks about that last night with people. But what I'm saying is, yes, technically, I was only an hour away from home, like 55 minutes. Yes, it's crazy because that was the Christian bubble. And even now I live in Lynchburg, but it does feel different since we're not technically at Liberty anymore. But basically, it's just the fact that I'm dealing in a situation where I would be at campus. We're talking about a place of rules and regulations, Christian abound. And then even when I would go home for the summer or spring break, I would just notice a lot of things like, wow, it's like, you know, that girl's wearing clothes that aren't the Liberty way, or wow, people sure do cuss a lot despite me living at home, you know, all of my life up to that point. So I think what this show could have potential in is developing Zora and Sophia into the kind of adults they will be as they grow older. Sure, they both made a lot of mistakes. Well, technically, I guess you could say that Sophia's biggest mistake was extremely out of character with the nudie photos, and then Zora making rash decisions and being in like an abusive relationship. And it will be an interesting dynamic to see which one of the girls will influence the other more. Like, you know, will Sophia become more like Zora and vice versa? Even though technically they've kind of already did that. Go back to season 4. Sophia was kind of feeling like an outsider and was lashing out, and she definitely became more like Zora last season, and Zora was becoming more like Sophia. And that honestly makes the Zora in season 5 so unlikable because her acting like a brat just came out of nowhere. I mean, if anything else, Zora was definitely acting like Carissa was last season in regards to her anxiousness to get out of the house by any means necessary. Now, when it comes to storylines, I mean, I think there's a lot of potential. You know, will the two decide to join a church in New York somewhere? Will there be like a study Bible group, or will they just opt to do like kind of in studio sermons? What I mean by in studio is like, let's say they get like a studio apartment or something together. I feel like that'll probably fall by the wayside. It's almost like, you know, Zora and Sophia are going into Sodom and Gomorrah, you know? So it would be pretty interesting to see if they take the lessons that they learned or should have learned from their family and implement them while they're in New York. I just feel like we're in a situation where this spinoff, and I hate to use this example, but it's the most recent and relevant example. Fuller House, where you had a show, Full House, that had the whole family, but then you take a couple of the family members or a couple of the main characters and thrust them into a new environment. Well, technically not a new environment because they go back to the same house. But what I mean is when you toss the characters who you select from the main cast and thrust them into another environment, which again, if you want to make a Tyler Perry example, Curtis and Ella going down to Florida with an entirely new cast of characters. Or in an upcoming example, Brown and Cora from Meet the Browns. Ironically enough, you know, you had Jacob playing on Meet the Browns as well, Will. And you take them and put them in a new environment with other characters, which they'll do in assisted living. I think that a lot of people aren't really buying the idea because Sophia and Zora aren't listed as some of the more popular characters in the show because really their storylines don't really take precedent. If anything else, they serve as extensions of their parents to in a way. So I really feel like, you know, with Sophia and Zora, they could be put into situations where their faith, morals, and personalities are put to the test. In terms of Fuller House, you can have some of the main characters of Greenleaf pop in from time to time just to visit, just to talk with, you know, the characters. Like, Aunt Charity could be talking with them over the phone, and you could have Charity do a voiceover, so they don't even have to be on screen in character. Or let's say Grace or Carissa and Winky or Jacob decide to make separate trips up to New York to check in with the family. Hell, AJ in his new car, because I'm assuming him and Noah will build it together, might drive up to visit or catch a plane. I don't know. And who knows? I don't think AJ would go with them, to be completely honest here. I mean, it would be interesting if he went with them, because with AJ, you could see an interesting dynamic between him and Sophia. Would he be a protective older brother? You know, would he try to, you know, protect Sophia and she doesn't want to be protected? It's like, look, I didn't need a big brother when I was younger and I don't need one now. And then you can see an interesting dynamic unfold between those two. I mean, this new AJ we have now, I mean, believe it or not, you know, with his rough upbringing, but the turnaround he's making, I think he would be a great positive example, or I guess you could say influence on Zora and Sophia. Yeah, the jailbird would be the best example for the two the wild children. I could see that being a positive influence on them. Now, the biggest question with AJ is, you know, he just found his parents. Him and Noah are connecting. Him and Grace seem to be connecting. So why would he just uproot himself and, you know, just leave? Because like he told Sophia, at some point we all got to grow up and we all got to leave. Even if me, you, and Zora grew up here together, at some point we would have to leave the nest. So yeah, I could definitely see that, because even if he went to New York with Sophia and Zora, that doesn't mean he would have to leave forever. Maybe he'll just be out there for like the first season to help him get settled in. And after seeing them be okay on their own, he decides, you know, okay, it's time for me to go back to Memphis or something like that. That's all I'm saying. I'm just feeling like there is a lot of potential in a spinoff. I just don't think enough people will get behind it. And we can have returning characters. Isaiah could show up in New York for some reason. Dante's a ball player, so obviously he could show up with Nikki maybe because he's there for a game. And he kind of reconnects with Sophia and Zora, obviously they wouldn't be on good terms. Who's to say Nikki will be there? I mean, maybe they break up, or maybe he tries to get on Sophia's good side or whatever. Zora tries to convince her not to get involved with Dante again, and then, you know, he's a dog, and then it turns out he didn't break up with Nikki. It's just one of those things where I could definitely see it, you know, going in that angle, because when you're dealing with like younger characters, their storylines are easier to write. Drugs, heartbreak, making a bad decision versus making a good decision, keeping each other's secrets, and then of course, you know, obviously being roommates, they would have debates and arguments at some point. I can see that being something that happens in the near future. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Are you potentially behind a Zora and Sophia spinoff after what I've said in this video? Would you rather them not do a spinoff at all if it's focused on these two? Or would you like them to do like a prequel series, as I mentioned in my other video? Make sure you talk about it below. And if you'd like to donate to the channel, feel free to do so on PayPal, Cash App, or join Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys, and I'll talk to y'all next time.